Recently I reviewed a clip of a DV incident, an alleged DV incident. We don't know the context of it, okay? But I don't endorse either side of it. But we reviewed security footage of a EV, this alleged DV incident. Shit, I can't show you the footage like I would normally do because it flies in the face of standards and practices on this platform. Especially when it's the people from my ethnic group and whatnot. We're heavily policed on this platform. All right, but I reviewed the tape. I saw the guy doing these crazy things. He looks, from my point of view, looks very cowardly for someone with so much money and power to, put a woman underfoot and shit. All right. Put a woman underfoot. Then, I went back and looked at it, and it seemed that she had taken something from the room, and he was intent on retrieving that. He retrieved that item, left out. I don't know what it was. It's just a bag. It might as well be the suitcase from Pulp Fiction. But the guy retrieves what may be his property, and returns later and drags the woman off. Back to the room to be. I guess whatever happened between them, right? This is in no way an endorsement of, DV. Okay? I have to put that disclaimer out. Right? But we do not know the context of this shit. The person that is conducting the crime, the alleged crime that we see what looks like a crime, is a reprehensible person. He is a complete reprobate. He is undeserving of any sympathy whatsoever. And any sympathy that he gets, he can just purchase with his billions of dollars. Okay? And I'm not referring to this motherfucker directly. But you know who I'm talking about. Shit. And, I tend to land at 55 years of age in the cynicism box of this public arena and shit, okay? Because it's just being judged, by judge, jury, and executioner, by public denouncement and shit, defamation. We don't know. But I know one thing, when it comes to them, the minority majority in their control over every goddamn thing, including our images, they decide how you see a person, okay? Right? Recently, I want to go there, but recently, a couple of years, a year or so ago, the gentleman from the Dash 70 show was convicted for RA, SA or whatever acronym makes you comfortable. He was convicted of multiple crimes against women and shit. They didn't give him the OJ treatment or none of that stuff. They didn't give him the Jonathan Majors treatment, no nothing. They kept it on the down low and shit. But we seeing this motherfucker, a billionaire, who is a completely unsympathetic reprobate and a control freak and a sociopath and a narcissist. We see him, doing these things on the security tape that existed since what I believe is to be 2016. All right. So it's been like 8 years that fucking tape existed, and now it just pops up and shit. There's no criminal investigation until this time. Okay, if they're even at. I think it's just to muddy the waters. All right. Eddie Griffin said that black men don't get out of the business clean and shit. That is true. This motherfucker was swimming in muddy waters. He was swimming in a full toilet and shit, happily. Right? This is a situation he gets himself into. It's a teachable moment for kings. Men of means, men of distinction with assets. Things to lose. All right? Livelihoods to lose. I want you to consider that you need to keep your circle close and keep women at the periphery of it and shit. And you should routinely, investigate the people that are in your life. All right? I know it sounds paranoid and shit, but you have much to lose if you want to live in this society and live free. And you have a heavy melanin content. You're heterosexual and straight. They call you a person of color, but behind the door they call you the N-word. And, you know how it is and shit. Black men have no fucking friends in polite society in the West. That is a given and shit. We saw Bill Cosby, do the 3 to 10 year bid. He did 3 of the 10. There was a possible 3 to 10. He did 3 and got out because they had fucked up the investigation and did broke laws and shit. And people still are unhappy. They would rather him to be in there. He was in there as a violent offender. He was blind. He couldn't see shit. I'm not gonna go into that. Okay. This is not about, it's such an injustice for, the billionaire, reprobate that he got caught on cameras putting a boost to a bitch. But I want to tell you, you really have to look deeper. Shit, as black men, we have to look deeper. Shit, why the fuck was she still around this guy and shit? She could just walk the fuck away. What was in the bag that she was trying to remove from the room and shit? Okay, some people say it's her overnight bag or something. I don't think it's that important when a motherfucker putting his boots to you and shit. We always growing up, we grew up in a house. They told us the black woman is God. They're sacred to be cherished and all this bullshit. They hold no regard for us whatsoever. And if they do, it's begrudgingly. It's forced out of them like squeezing blood from a rock and shit. And we're supposed to put our lives on the line for them blindly. Even if someone we don't know, we don't even know the situation, we're supposed to get in front of them, and we do it. We're socially engineered to lay down on that wire and shit, and let them step over us before it detonates. You ever think about it and shit? I do. I have a proliferation of women in my family and shit, and I don't take them lightly whatsoever. I never have. I've always shown them respect and everything, and it has not been returned. Okay? They have never seen me and shit, but I always carried their weight and the burden of, things that happened to them and shit, worried about it, and convulsed about it. They didn't give a shit about me and shit. And I tell you this because I want you young men to understand that it is okay to be selfish. Okay? It's okay to be selfish and want to preserve yourself. Okay? Because in the end of shit, you ain't gonna get your flowers. Okay? We don't know what happened before we saw that woman on camera getting her ass stomped out, by a cowardly billionaire. We don't know what happened to shit. She knew what kind of person he was. I've perused the brief of the lawsuit filed against him by this same woman. And we must consider that, she is no paragon of virtue because she was in a relationship with this man when he was married. Okay? They want to say that she's a delicate flower that, you have to take everything that comes with that shit. If she's going to sit up here and claim to be a delicate flower while she was a mistress of a billionaire shit, an immature bisexual, pansexual, whatever the fuck sexual billionaire shit with, illusions of grandeur and, power tripping and shit all the goddamn time and shit. That's how you know somebody truly weak, when they have to flex on you. Okay? They got all the cards, and they still flex. They don't feel like they're complete unless they denigrate you. Alright? I want you to consider, why the fuck was she still there? Why is she up under this guy? She chose to be there. Okay, she says that this man made her do all kinds of degrading things, sexual and otherwise and shit. She still stayed there. I think she was with this man for a decade or so before she bumped out. And he has not missed a beat. He has fathered multiple children, but despite being a pansexual, leaning towards the eggplant side and shit, his father multiple children and even stolen one of his children's girlfriend and had a fling with her supposedly. Then you don't hear that woman, whose father is a fucking boob and an idiot, gives bad advice to men, bad faith advice to other black men and shit, because he's weak and he's scared of being alone and shit, standing on that boogie rope and shit, He's afraid, man. And he won't come out of the closet. Alright? Hollyweird is Hollyweird and shit, man. I spent an exorbitant amount of time on the West Coast, and I can tell you the reality is what you make it over there. Okay? And she decided after all this time that she wanted to be a victim and shit. She was so quiet and shit, right? And all this shit is coming out. She's the, I always notice like these, wealthy, 1% black men, and I'd say 1% is a metric compared to the rest of the ethnic group, biologically speaking. You always see them falling over, falling off their heel because of a woman and shit. There's some dirty skid mark panties on your fucking head, on your head like a face hugger, and you roll down that mountain shit at light speed and hit the bottom. Okay, there's a bunch of rocks down there. Right? I want you brothers to fall off that mountain shit with some fucking skid mark panties over your face, crotch right over your nose and shit. And I have to use that, rather distasteful analogy because I want to drive home the point and shit, just how fucked up that is to climb that mountain and shit and then have someone under you that does not have your best interest or that's criminally hypergamous and shit. They're going to decide when and where they will become a victim, right? Whether they will become a delicate flower. Sometimes $30 million isn't enough. Okay? Sometimes it's not enough. And things just happen and shit. When you're rich and everything, your circle must be small. Okay? And you must completely and continuously vet the people inside of it and shit. Unless you want to live a socially solitary lifestyle. Okay? Right? And you want to be in the business, you want to have all that fucking money. You need to get out of that business as soon as possible. As soon as you got everything on lock, move your assets overseas where they can't be, taken away from you with a court order. And live your life, and make sure you keep a passport and all that bullshit. Maybe, if you're a billionaire or something, maybe you might want to make your home in places where there's no extradition law and shit. I know how this sounds. I'm not talking about this reprobate billionaire and everything, but I am worried that, men of distinction in my ethnic group, biologically speaking, have an opportunity to build generational wealth. All right? That's what it's about. All right? And I want you to know that. I want you to know, King, and I'm going long on this one. I want you to understand that most of the time, everything they do is premeditated and shit, okay? And, people over 20, maybe some of you guys with some life experience understand what I'm talking about. When you go into a situation with a toxic individual and they try to create a emotionally turbulent situation out of nowhere, okay? They expect you to behave and act in a certain way. And I always tell you these things that I tell you on my platforms because I want you to learn indifference to hyper-emotional, people, okay? I want you to learn indifference and intolerance of it, okay? When the other person starts acting crazy and doing a bunch of shit, knocking over stuff and tearing up shit, you must be indifferent, okay? And following that comes intolerance of that shit. You must excoriate them and shun them.